The story of jute manufacture and the growth of the industry in Dundee in particular is a complex one. A series of circumstances was to come together to establish an industry which, at its peak, employed some 50,000 people and provided much of the material required for a range of products that were exported worldwide. It was the Dundonians who were to eventually provide the breakthrough to successful jute processing by soaking the raw material in oil and water for several days, making the fibres far more pliable and easier to spin. Dundee was now extremely well placed to take advantage of this new opportunity. The town had an ample supply of water, a large whaling fleet that could supply all of the oil required, and plenty of skilled shipwrights available in the ports in time be able to build vessels required to export the finished product to wherever it was sought. The construction of Verdant Mill commenced in 1833 on behalf of Mr. David Lindsay, being continually extended over the next 30 years until the site looked very similar to how it looks today. Verdant Works was purchased in 1991 by Dundee Heritage Trust, who restored the buildings, opening them in 1996 as a museum dedicated to the textile industry that once dominated the city's economy. It is still possible to get some sense of how important jute was to Dundee by visiting Verdant Works, which is the only dedicated jute museum in the UK. Once the bales had been opened, the jute is twisted by hand into tricks of bundles of between 2 to 5 pounds in weight, before being put through a softener or later a spreader. This machine softens the jute fibres between fluted rollers while spraying it with a mix of emulsion of oil and water. The emulsion helps to compensate for the jute's lack of natural oils. Carding separates the fibres and positions them in parallel, since the grades of jute used to make up a batch can vary so considerably. Carding also ensures a thorough mixing of the fibres, enabling the production of a yarn that differs as little as possible throughout its length.
Hey, there's somebody in! Get away! Hey, there's somebody in!
We now arrive at the weaving and final process, where, in this particular case, the jute cloth is being woven by a 60-inch power loom. The amount of shorts woven per inch is controlled by the amount of teeth that are on this pinion. The size of the loom is determined by the length of the respit. Morgan Academy opened in 1868 as the Morgan Hospital, a charitable institution. Its benefactor was John Morgan, who emigrated to India and became a wealthy indigo farmer. Upon his death in 1850, he bequeathed much of his fortune to establish a residential institution. The hospital was closed in 1888 and was bought by the Dundee Borough School Board, who reopened it as a school. The school suffered a fire on the 21st of March 2001, which destroyed much of the building. After the firefighters and all the other personnel had managed to extinguish the fire, looking at the devastation of which the fire had left, suggested that the Morgan Academy was no longer going to be the Dundee landmark which had stood for 136 years on the triangular site in the Stobsville area of Dundee. Nevertheless, due to the skills and experience of various tradesmen, especially the pattern makers and stone masons, the Morgan Academy will hopefully be standing proudly once again for another 136 years. The school has been rebuilt using the original facade and look. The school reopened in August 2004. The RRS Discovery was the last wooden three-masted ship to be built in Britain. Designed for Antarctic research, she was launched in 1901. Her first mission was the British National Antarctic Expedition, carrying Robert Falcon Scott and Ernest Shackleton on their first successful journey to the Antarctic. Known as the Discovery Expedition, she is now the centrepiece of visitors' attraction in her home, Dundee. On the 16th of March 1900, construction on the Discovery began in Dundee, Scotland by the Dundee Shipbuilders Company. She was launched into the Firth of Tay on the 21st of March 1901 by Lady Markham, the wife of Sir Clements Markham, who was president of the Royal Geographical Society. Discovery had coal-fired auxiliary steam engines, but had to rely primarily on sail because the coal bunkers did not have sufficient capacity to take the ship on long voyages. She was rigged as a bark. According to Shackleton, the ship was a bad sailor and carried too much sail aft and not enough forward, while Scott worried that the design of the ship's hull was unsuitable for work in pack ice. The ship had a massive built wooden hull designed to withstand being frozen into the ice. The propeller and rudder could be hoisted out of the way to prevent ice damage. Iron shod bows were severely raked so that when ramming the ice, they would ride up over the margin and crush the ice with dead weight. The Discovery rolled badly in the open sea, where the flat, shallow hull, built with no protuberances to work well in ice, provided minimal stability in heavy seas.